Welcome to the Heme Consults orientation video series. This is number 15, medication approvals, your gatekeeper role. So when I was a resident, it was really important to be a wall, making sure that patients didn't get in who shouldn't be admitted. And so sometimes if you had a lot of patients to be admitted who maybe should not have been admitted and then would just leave the next morning, it was like, sometimes it was looked on as being weak. And so there was a sense of you being a wall. And so it was hard during fellowship to not take on the role of the wall, trying not to let medication approvals get through. But in reality, when you become a fellow and you are the gatekeeper for many of these expensive medications on the consult service, your role is not to be a wall. Your role is to be more like a speed bump. Let's think about 7 ways to think about your gatekeeper role on the Heme Consult service. Okay, so you're really there on the Heme Consult service to help people slow down and think. That's it. You're there to help people slow down. For example, somebody calls from the OR. Oh my gosh, the patient is bleeding all over the place. What do we do? Give Novo 7 now. And there's panic and there's high energy and there's excitement. Of course, it's the right thing to do. Your job is to say, let's pause and let's make sure we're thinking about this okay. How many doses of Nova 7 have you given so far? How many doses of 4-factor PCCs did the patient get? I'm going to clarify all that. Did you also give the patient a Dexanet alpha? Because sometimes what you're not getting is the whole story of what's been going on throughout. And so your job is just to help people pause, calm down. Hey, come down from the high energy. We can do this for 2 minutes. And make sure you understand the story. Make sure you understand what was given, so that if it makes sense to you, you say, oh, yes, it makes sense. If it doesn't, you'll say, I'm worried that the patient may be at increased risk of thrombosis because you've given 3 doses of 4-factor PCCs, 1 dose of Indexa, and there's about to be another dose of Novo 7. Are you sure that's what you want to do? I'm concerned about thrombosis. And that's really your job. It's just to be the speed bump. And if they say, yes, of course I know what I'm doing, stop challenging me. It's their patient, and you get to document in the chart that you raised the concern for thrombosis, but the team felt that it was important to move forward. So you're there as a speed bump, not as a wall. The second thing is that remember that you're the leader here. Sometimes when the teams call, especially when they're highly excited and energized and sometimes fearful, they seem as if they're trying to force you to do something that you may not understand. Now, remember, they're calling you. They called you for a reason. If they didn't have to, they wouldn't call you. And it gives you an opportunity to say, well, help me understand your thinking. Help me understand your reasoning. Why is it that you told me that the 4T score is 2, but you still feel strongly that the patient has heparin-induced thrombocytopenia? Help me understand. And it's important for you to remember that you are in control. You are in charge. Don't be intimidated. Don't be anxious. Just follow through on helping and asking them to help satisfy your curiosity so that you get on the same page as them. And that's important to do. The next thing is to make sure you ask questions and look at the literature. Sometimes they'll ask for something like Indexanet alpha to reverse apixaban. And that's great. It's a perfectly good indication. But you do want to pause and ask questions like, okay, when did the patient last receive apixaban? And they may say, oh, 3 days ago. I'm like, it's been 3 days. Why do you think that apixaban reversal would be needed now? They're like, oh, the INR is 5. Like, for what other reason might the INR be high? And so your asking questions helps them think through, oh, wait a minute, maybe this is not related. Because sometimes in the speed of trying to get to the answer fast, they may not think through things as much. And our colleagues are great, and they're calling you for a reason. You're not in the OR. You're not distracted by all of that high energy. No one's yelling at you in the background. You're not seeing blood everywhere. So you have a chance to just be more thoughtful. And it's helpful if you give them the gift of your thoughtfulness as well. The next thing is to run your thoughts by the attending, especially before you get comfortable. You're going to want to run your thoughts by the attending. And it may be that, oh yeah, apixaban reversal is indicated, but maybe not in a patient who just had a DVT 2 days ago. Those would be the kinds of things that you might want to think about. And the attending will help you get a full sense of what may be reasonable. But definitely, it's the middle of the night. They've woken you up for a reason. And if you have questions, you wake your attending up as well. The next thing to do is don't be over-invested in the final outcome. Sometimes you'll say you have a strong recommendation not to do a thing, and the team will say, well, we don't care. And you know what? That stings because you're like, this is my best professional recommendation. And they're like, yeah, we don't care. You want to make sure that you understand their line of reasoning. Again, it may just be that we don't understand what they're thinking about, or it may really be that they're like, they don't want to know what you think. And that's where you say, it's not my recommendation based on XYZ, and I will document that in the chart. And it's not a chart war. It's just saying, hey, these are the risks versus the benefits. In hematology, we're really just weighing risks and benefits. We're not necessarily saying this is right or this is wrong. We're saying, well, the risk of doing this may outweigh the benefits because of the recent thrombosis history. But don't be so invested in the outcome that you insist it must be the way you say it. The team ultimately is responsible in the care of their patient. Finally, for every recommendation you make, write a note in the chart. Don't let them say hematology said it's okay, and you don't have your note in the chart saying that as the representative of the hematology consult service, it's okay. So you want to make sure there is a note in the chart, and it doesn't have to be a long note. That's number 7. Make it brief. You didn't see the patient. There shouldn't be like a whole thing in there of all the labs are reviewed and here's the medical history. And it's confusing because it makes it look as if you actually saw the patient and you didn't. You didn't leave your bed. Just write a brief note in the chart that says, conversation had with team about XYZ, review the chart, patient was bleeding, and it seemed appropriate to give andexanet alpha for reversal. End of the story. Make it a brief note so that it's very clear. Sometimes the longer the notes are, especially when we didn't see the patient, the more confusing it can be, especially in the middle of the night. You want to keep things sharp, clear, and focused. Okay, so I want you to think about the next time you receive one of those urgent requests where they're like, we need this medication now. Remember that you're a bump in the road. You're not the person stopping them from crossing over. So don't take on that energy of, I must stop you. Just recognize that you're there to help them slow down and think and make sure that it really is something that they want to do. And ask questions, because when you're asking questions, it may help them understand that perhaps it's something they don't want to do. All right. Imagine if you could answer every call with a confidence of just who you are in your role as a Heme Consults fellow who's there to help and bring good to all. I'll see you in the next video.